So this is our 2021 14cc. We got it in April of 21, right after COVID. I've got some new brake pads. I removed the drum last week or so just to get the number off of that and just take a look at what was going on in there. Some, kind of tough shots. Maybe I can add some photos of what I saw. But what I'm going to do today, hopefully, God willing, it's December, it's cold, limited daylight, is to try to flip the axle. So it looks like this is welded here to the axle. So if I take the axle and put it underneath, and the locating pin that's in there, that's on the on these springs, also appears to be underneath as well. So I'm just wondering if these axles do support over under, and I don't actually need a conversion kit. So that's the hope. I'll measure the leaf spring too. I mean, it might be time. Just the thing is, the leaf springs, they've like settled, and then you can actually see, I think I noticed it once before. Oh, well, it would be on here. Yeah, you see this here? This is where the axle actually contacted the frame at one point. So it hit here to here. I mean, that must have been an extreme case, major bump, high speed or whatever. But the idea, these are 14-inch tires. I just like to I could go to like a 15-inch wheel with like off-road mud tires. So that's what they're doing with the adventure package. But I did look at some YouTube videos talking about that version, and it appears they may have just added like a longer spacer here at the back, or a stiffer spring to just get like a little bit more clearance for that like adventure package. But I'd really like to get 2 or 3 inches of clearance height on this trailer, because when we're going like in and out of a gas station, the rear end just like gets very, very close. Luckily it has these kind of like drag bars down there. But the other thing too is that our Tacoma, we got another 2011, but I had a 2-inch lift on that ball, and so I just got the same thing, but either the way the trailer hitch is like not bent like the other one was, or what the deal is, but it's just higher, or maybe because this is like the sport model, the truck's kind of doing this. It's just a little bit too high. So I can't really take that off because it's stuck on that hitch. But I also want to solve the clearance problem on the trailer. So if we could get this up 2 or 3 inches in the back, then I could talk about getting bigger wheels, some mud tires or something. That would be cool, because we are, for the most part, going off road. We'll be visiting the national parks this summer, so I just want the clearance. And the last thing about the clearance thing is my freshwater tank. So I capped off the valve. There was a valve on there, like a quick pull valve, that was just sitting just way too low to the ground. So I'd capped it off, but it would be so nice to be able to just pull that valve, put that valve back in, pull that valve, dump the fresh water, and like leave it open to air out, because the last thing you want is just like mold and stuff in your freshwater tank. So I think the clearance is like 10.9, like roof height, which is awesome, because like we've been able to go underneath like all these bridges that are like 11 feet tall, you know, and I think we'll still be like around the 11-foot height. I'll definitely measure exactly what it is at the end, just so I know. So the clearance shouldn't, the height level change shouldn't be too much of an issue. And then I'm just, you know, I'm wary about like side to side, because like I know the newer versions, the 14cc, they widened the trailer a little bit. I think that was just because people felt like it was just too tight going through the door or the hallway or the bathroom or whatever. So they widened it by like 3 inches. But I'm just wondering if also that was so they could give it a little bit more clearance, but not lose the center of gravity too much. So we'll have to be careful, like just with, you know, the side to side with it. We'll see how that goes. But I think that there's generally enough like cargo in the trailer, you know, whether it's, you know, fresh gray or black water, and then plus, you know, a lot of times we just like store our luggage and stuff like on the dinette bed, just kind of lay it down. So it kind of evens things out, because my parents said, like when they were following me, this one time, they said that the trailer was like listing a little bit to the left. And I think that was just because just everything is on the left-hand side. So like all the tanks drain to the left, so they're going to be biased to the left. You got the fridge, the 6-gallon water heater, also on the left side. The sink, you know, all that weight. And then because we put our pillows on the right-hand side away from the sink cooking area, we tend to store anything on the bed on the left-hand side where that shelf is. So yeah, it's not surprising that the axles did hit the frame at one point. So wish me luck today. This is part 1. I'm not very good at editing YouTube videos, but we'll see how we do today. All right, so this is part 2. The drums are off. That's an entire assembly. But if you're doing an axle flip, I think it almost makes sense to take off the entire brakes, because then you can just, you know, pull the axle out through one side, I believe, and then send it underneath, instead of messing with these springs that have, you know, those bolts that have bushings and stuff that can be problematic, I think, to get those bolts out. So, but in my case, you know, I'm doing the brakes anyway, so I had to take the whole hub off. Not the hub, but the shoe assembly. And these bolts came out okay on the other side, just with some WD. And here's the kind of wreckage of what's going on with our brakes. I mean, the thickness is still there. These are like supposedly never adjust brakes, but I don't think they are necessarily, because I don't see any comparison to, well, we'll see. The e-trailer brakes that I got are just the standard, because I was like, this never adjust thing, it's not adjusting. That's for sure. And maybe that's all I really needed to do, was just adjust these damn things. But when I connect the trailer to the truck, the controller's not seeing the trailer, and so the ohms are not right. I think probably one of the magnets is shot, or the wiring is no good or something. But I'm just going to try to clean the drums up, change out these assemblies, and see where we are. And while I'm at it, unbolt this, send it through, maybe bolt it underneath. So wish me luck with this jazz. Always a jam. All right, so I got underneath and I moved it that way, all the way, and then put this end down and then put that end down. So then the other good news is that this locating pin, on the bottom is this bolt with a nut that fits in here still. So this does actually fit in there, just like that. So they are kind of made to be in either location. I'm just looking at these shackles are just super super wanky. But whatever. Yeah, and I took pictures of the labels because now they're facing forward. When it was flipped, it was that way. And then the only other thing of note is that the axle, it kind of goes like this, kind of like a moon shape when it's like in this position. So that's going to give negative camber. The wheels are going to be more like this in, which is better for higher clearance. But yeah, it does seem like the axle has kind of this hoop, a hoop. And before, when it was flipped over, it was like this, which was positive camber. I guess when the trailer would sit down, or the looseness in the bearings, they didn't want the wheels to be like this. So we'll have to watch the negative camber situation, because it appears the axle is designed for that. But as long as there's no major difference in the tire wear, I think I'd rather have a little bit of negative camber, given that the trailer is going to be up higher, just to kind of help for stability. You know what I mean? But super happy. Two things that, you know, this piece here, which every axle flip, over under conversion kit, blah blah blah, it appears that these are not attached to the axle tube and that you'd have to weld them on yourself, which I did not want to do. But in this case, they're already pre-welded, and they can either sit on this locating pin or on the nut on the bottom. So I think we're good to go to try this. This is pretty cool. Yeah, trailer's on jack stands right now all the way around, plus the front. So working on the safety here a little bit. So when I look at this axle right now hanging down, I mean, it did work, but I'm thinking like you could put like 16-inch wheels on this friggin' thing. You know, look how sweet that would look if it had like a giant tire on there. Put a spacer on there, or like a little wider offset. Look friggin' sweet. But yeah, it seems to just been more or less plug and play. Everything is pretty comfortable just like that. So yeah, I tighten them up how I feel comfortable, and it's got that alignment mark on there. And the shackles are more or less, you know, equidistant from that thing, and straight up and down, and equal amount of threads exposed on each part. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm gonna put the new brakes on, and then we'll take it from there. All right. So we got the axle bolted up, and the new brake shoes on. Just gotta do the wiring now, but they bolted up nicely to the hub. They match the drums, and adjusted the adjuster a little bit to get them there. And then the spec was 50 foot-pounds to seat it, and then completely loosen it, and then finger tight or back it off to get the cotter pin in. Those are the specs that I found. So now I'm just gonna do the electrical wiring with some heat shrink, and then hopefully be able to get this up high enough between the two to get the tire on. Ridiculous, but yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see the way it looks once we're done with the wiring. And then I think I may even take it for a ride tonight, just hook the trailer up, and, or at least tomorrow, do a road test with it before I kind of do-si-do the camper or the boat and the car to get this back where it belongs. But yeah, significant clearance now back there, which should be kind of fun. Alright, so I did the lift on the trailer, and the steps are definitely pretty high. So I think if we were backed up to like any sort of drop off, we might have to put something underneath those legs. But in terms of the equidistance between the steps, I think we're still pretty much there. It's not too bad. It is kind of like a hefty first step getting in, and then we'll just have to, you know, be careful going down. It's going to be a different, but having that handle there is super nice. Just pumping up the tire from yesterday, but you can see we're pretty level with the truck. So there's a 2-inch lift, 2011 Tacoma, and I'll show you. It's actually pointed down just a hair now. I do have a lot of gear in the back of the truck right now, so a little bit of slant, but it's pretty level. And like I said, when I take out, I've got like probably 300 pounds worth of equipment at least in the back of the truck right now in that cab, DJ equipment. So it should level out pretty well. I'm gonna take it for a ride now. So yeah, it's just a over-under axle flip Wolf Pup 14cc, and definitely got the clearance that I want now. I mean, look how much clearance I have now. It's going to be great. So I'll just show you. And I did this when I was replacing the brakes, which makes a lot of sense because then you don't have to disconnect the actual leaf springs because you're cutting the wire anyway with the brake electrical connectors. Yeah. But I think, like I said, I might be able to put that pull valve back in here. We'll see. Depending on how far it comes down. That would be nice. But I'm going to take it for a ride now, just see how it feels, see how the handling feels. But, you know, more or less an easy job. I think the tricky part is just once you flip the axle, then you really need to get the trailer high. And you really need some like super high jack stands. And did have like a little bit of a scare there where I was using the stabilizer jacks to kind of raise the trailer a little bit, and because my driveway is on an incline, you know, just the trailer started to shift and one of those things started to twist, and luckily the jack stands caught it that were underneath. So you really need to just figure out like what you're gonna put the trailer on, you know, how you're gonna get it up and then put it down on something that's not the stabilizer jacks, because they're just not any sort of twisting and that trailer will just come right down on its side. So luckily that didn't happen, but it was a close call. So safety first and last. Just pumping up the tires here. So I've got this DL100, and for the first time now it says connected to the trailer. So for sure, the brake magnets in the drums were just not working right, and I genuinely think possibly this trailer had an issue from the beginning, but it is what it is. Moving on. But super happy to see that now the brake controller recognizes that the trailer is connected, so it's seeing amperage, or current, or the proper ohms of resistance in those coils. So that's great. I'm super excited to see how it feels. I'm going to drop the brake gain down to 10. I've had to have it up all the way up to like 20 at times. The brakes did work on both wheels, and I tested that, but they just I couldn't like lock up the trailer brakes, and it was putting too much strain on the vehicle. So we'll see. I don't want to lock up the trailer brakes, but I definitely want the trailer to pull its own weight or stop its own weight. Okay. Well, you gotta see. That's so cool. All right. So yeah, I mean, it's driving pretty well. The brakes are like night and day. Highly recommend anyone who's got a trailer who's just like, hey, it's just not braking right. I can't believe how cheap they are. It was like $112 for 2 shoe assemblies, and I didn't do anything to the drums. I just cleaned them off with some like brake cleaner. Yeah, but it's just like night and day in terms of the braking quality and everything. So just a shoe swap. Toughest part is like practically just doing the electrical connections, the butt connectors with blowtorch to heat them up and melt them down and everything. Pain in the butt, especially when it's cold. Yeah, but another thing, so the clearance, has been raised up a little bit. Definitely like a little bit more side to side waviness, like if I try to do like hard S curves and stuff, but I'm not too worried about it. I think it'll be all right. There's enough weight on the bottom of the trailer that keeps it grounded. Yeah, but it would be kind of fun to maybe just like put on some wider tires, or at least like mud tires. Yeah, we'll see what's available definitely in the spring if we're going to be going off road. But someone mentioned something about the benefit of like adding more clearance to your trailer, and it's just that you can get underneath it. And I was like, wow, that's a stupid reason, but to be honest, it's amazing just being able to like roll underneath this thing now. Because I was checking out the brake wires just to make sure they weren't hitting on anything, and just to be able to slide underneath here, it's just like super nice. So yeah, again, you can really see it now. The axle originally would go like this for positive caster, but now it's got the negative caster, which is better for stability, but could cause some inner tire wear. So you can kind of see that is just not perpendicular, but we'll watch the inner tire wear. I don't think it would be too big of an issue. I'd rather have the stability. So that's that. In terms of the alignment with the truck, this parking lot's kind of like a hill, but it's pretty damn straight, and I'm happy about that. And like I said, I've got a lot of weight in the back of the truck right now, but if you're doing the brakes, you might want to try the axle flip, but you are modifying the vehicle, so you could be introducing some safety risks in terms of the stability. But if you're going off road, there just may be no other option. And I know a lot of other trailers, they do the axle flip just to get the clearance when they need it, when it's appropriate for the application. So yeah. All right, one last video. Basically pretty happy with the way it felt driving it back again on the highway and kind of taking some curves and stuff. I think it's going to be fine. It will take like, you know, a little bit different kind of style maybe of driving. Just you can't like, you know, the trailer's just not going to follow you as quickly. But like in terms of just like keeping up with you, so to speak, sort of like, you know, and especially if you're braking, then like the trailer really stays straight and it's not going to like wobble so much. So I'm reminded of a guy who was saying, you know, if you ever get any sway from the trailer, just hit the brake controller. You know, don't touch the vehicle brakes, just hit the brake controller brakes and it will straighten the trailer out. So it's nice to have kind of that handheld thing, controller up on the dash for something like that. But yeah, I'm just super psyched because I think with some like off-road tires on there, I think could really open up a whole another level of kind of like backwoods, off-grid kind of hunting, you know, travel, or, you know, just going up in the woods on some dirt roads, you know, whole nother level. Because now, you know, the trailer axle is pretty much in line with the truck diff, which is pretty cool. So in terms of the clearance, you know, let's see. Yeah, and you know what was cool too is like right when I got on the road, you know, there was it was just a giant cardboard box that was just on the road, and you know, you're just reminded of like this road debris that, you know, also is just such a menace these days, but kind of digging the way it looks. All right, so I was up there on the roof, and the clearance was actually, it almost looked like it was like 10.4, you know, just super surprising. So, I mean, definitely anything under 11 I think is safe. The original height clearance was apparently 10.9, which I think was generous. They probably, you know, compensate for maximum articulation of maybe the trailer, depending on how it was towed. So, but I mean, if it's flat like this, it really looks like the actual clearance is like 10.5, actual height. So anything under 11, I think we're good. Just great. It's just nice to kind of just know what it is, for real. Because we have gone under bridges that were like 10.8 and stuff, you know, and it was like, or 10.9 or 10.11 or whatever, 11.1. So, yeah, we're gonna have to watch the clearance. You know, I wouldn't really chance anything under 11. But if I'm like, from what I measured up there, it really looked like it was like 10.5, 10.4, which is super surprising. But makes sense if the original 10.9 height measurement was like plus 6 inches, you know what I mean? So, yeah, and probably the clearance, it was probably like a +3 lift, you know, flipping the axle over. Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's cool. I'm happy. We're gonna see what we got. I just think it's gonna be cool to be able to kind of take it in a little bit of backcountry or do some roads that have some dips and stuff, and just not worry so much about ripping off the plumbing. Yeah, sweet. It's a sweet rig.